Okay. Black Talk Sacramento, where the talk is always black.
And welcome to the Brickhouse Gallery and Art Complex.
Official!
Right on. And we're here with Daphne Burgess and Milton Bowens and their exhibition here at the gallery titled Double Feature, the Soundtracks. We've been having a wonderful time here. We started out with the film Cadillac, moved on Valentine's Day to Love Jones, and this evening we just finished viewing the movie Claudine with the panel with Daphne Burgess, Kimberly Marshall, and Kareem Daniels. And so we're going to kick it off with Daphne sharing with us her contribution to this exhibition titled Double Feature. How did you guys come up with that title?
It took a while to decide on it. We had actually a few different names. Press Play was going to be one of the names. What were some other ones that we talked about?
Soul and acrylic stereo.
Oh yeah, that was a good one too. But this one we I guess kind of, I don't want to say settled on, but decided upon because double feature, because it's the two of us. Mm-hmm. And we each chose films for one reason or another that we identified with or just liked for their subject matter, their commentary. But each one had an amazing soundtrack to go along with it. And so we talked about how we would incorporate in the artwork these films and the music that went along with the films.
Yeah, and you've done a marvelous job. If you've not been here to the gallery to view, Daphne did some pieces, and some of the pieces actually resemble albums. And then she's also incorporated the album covers that she told me from her own private collection, yes, like Quincy Jones and Roots, and She's Gotta Have It. Chef! Big score. Absolutely love it. Milton, tell us about your contribution.
Oh, I just took my traditional approach. I enjoy storytelling. So after me and Daphne had discussed the different genres of movies that we were looking at, I just looked at like how certain movies kind of represented an entire aspect of African American culture, like Cadillac Records. Mm-hmm. Cadillac Records is really about chess records that got nicknamed Cadillac Records because Muddy Waters is credited, he says it and he's quoted of saying that, you know, everybody on the label, if you stay with the label long enough, everybody got wealthy enough to own a Cadillac. But it really was just about the explosion of blues, mm-hmm, and how Leonard Chess kind of operated outside of the norm of other labels who were handling what was called race music at the time, and gave all of these unique voices license to just be themselves. Mm-hmm. So he single-handedly, you know, launched the careers of Muddy Waters, Little Walter, Etta James, Howlin' Wolf, but most importantly, Chuck Berry, the father of rock and roll. There would be no rock and roll if there was not Chess Records, Leonard Chess and Chuck Berry. So, me liking to tell stories and having, text-driven artwork that, uses narratives, I try to use my stories paired with Daphne's strength in visual representation and combine the two. Mm-hmm. But I also wanted to remind people too that I do come from an advertising and illustrator background. So I brought in some of my old pieces that are representational as well.
Yeah, you're a Spike Lee piece. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that was from that's actually from my Mo Better Blues collection. Those are the pieces that my personal pieces that I've held on to from that collection. Him as Giant and his sister as Indigo. And we paired it with my jazz piece, and Daphne did an outstanding piece. I think it's one of the signature pieces in the show. My two favorite pieces in the entire show are not my own work. It's Daphne's More Better Blues piece and the Blue People
The
from
blue
Boomerang.
people from
Yeah.
Boomerang, yeah. Everyone has been commenting on that
Yeah.
piece, and they recognize it as well, too.
But that goes to show you how strong that image was
Yeah.
in that film, how recognizable it was, the epiphany image. So yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to this exhibition for quite a while. And even though really none of the pieces of mine are actually new works, but they are first time seen works for this region, because the big pieces that anchor the show were all commissioned to be done for an exhibit at the Regal Theater in Chicago.
Okay.
So they have been in Chicago for like the last 3 years. This is the first time they're back in California and on display.
Okay. Coffee, the piece that is behind you right here now, Coliseum.
Yeah.
Comment on that, Coliseum. Is that Oakland?
That's Oakland. It's the Oakland Coliseum Drive-In Theater. See, some people have walked in here and they have no concept of what a drive-in movie theater is. Never been to a drive-in movie theater, and actually have never heard of a drive-in movie theater. We stood in front of this painting after the Love Jones reception and talked for about 15 minutes, and everybody had a different connection or a different experience. Hiding in the trunk of the car so the parents didn't have to pay all of the money. Having to bring extra blankets because you got to have the window rolled down.
Exactly.
Because you had this gigantic speaker that hung on the window and it would be cold. So it's a nostalgic piece for me because we used to look forward. My father was a longshoreman, and so he got paid every week on Fridays. So this would be like a highlight. We would go to drive-in movies like once a month. And we would always look forward to that one time when we got to go to the drive-in movie
This is a
theaters.
special treat.
Special treat. And for me, it wasn't necessarily, I was so little, it wasn't even about me seeing the actual films. Although in hindsight, I connect to all of those movies now, being able to rewatch them as an adult. When I saw them as a little kid, I really didn't really know what was going on in Cotton Comes to Harlem or any of these movies. But it was about being able to watch the cartoon in the beginning.
Oh, Daffy Duck?
Yeah,
Bugs Bunny?
and get pizza. And get pizza. So Daphne had a piece of pizza.
Yes.
So, because for me, it was about being able to go get pizza.
That's a fun piece.
and watch the cartoon in the beginning, because most of the time I'd fall asleep, before the movies are over. And, not to give away my age too much, but you would get to see 2 movies at the drive-in movie theater.
Yes.
It was always a double feature. So, I can recall it was just like this event. I would go, be so excited to get there, get my snack, eat my pizza, watch the cartoon, sleep, and somebody carrying me into the house. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I couldn't even tell you what movies we saw. Mm-hmm. But it, in hindsight, it really wasn't about that. It was just about being with family, sharing the experience, and I just wanted to,
Yeah, I love that piece. Because it brought back memories for me, too. We'd be in Daddy's Mercury station wagon, and he'd lay the seats down, and we'd have Big Mama's quilts that she sent us. We'd double up and everything, and then just the smell of popcorn, and he'd get this big bag of popcorn, and we all 6 of us had to share the popcorn. Yeah, but the drive-in theater was like a family gathering. It was like a family outing. All of the family being able to be together.
Moms would fried chicken, and we would get knee-high sodas.
Oh, God. Yeah.
So
we brought the Kool-Aid. And bologna sandwiches, I remember.
And that's a funny thing, because I never went to a drive-in with my parents. My mom doesn't like sitting still for that long. Okay. So my drive-in movie experiences were all with friends.
Okay.
Oh.
And sneaking people in, and all of those things. So yeah, my dad was a Westerns kind of guy. So he would watch those types of things, but they weren't really TV watchers. Okay. So my sister and I were the ones who were always like glued to the TV, waiting to see, the next episode of whatever come on. But yeah, we would go to the drive-ins, but my parents, no.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say that actually probably is what sparked my love for movies. I have always said, if I didn't really kind of just continue to navigate my way some kind of way in life where art was always like a saving grace for me, I probably would have ended up doing something related to film. I don't necessarily think maybe like making movies or a filmmaker, but I definitely could have saw myself as a movie critic.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, I could see you kind of like what's her name that did Selma?
Oh yeah, Ava DuVernay.
Ava, yeah,
Yeah.
because you're a history buff, you know. So I could really see you doing things like that. Documentaries,
I think I
yeah.
could have pulled off a couple of documentaries.
You can still do
Yeah,
it.
you can still do
You can
it.
still do
Don't
it.
give up on your dreams.